Hello and welcome, my dear friends. I hope you're well. So let's start our new episode of Crime Tack. I hope the whole family is well and taking care of themselves. We all know that the film we are watching is far from reality, as the film is the world. It has acting. Everything is going on. But despite knowing all this, people go to watch a movie and get out of the cinema hall screaming. Let's discuss a film that was cursed. A film that was made on a budget of around 12 million and breaks records at the box office with 444 million. Not only that, but this film also received a nomination for the Global Globe Awards. So, what is horrific about this film is that something bad happened after watching it, which has absorbed the biggest tragedy whose name was associated with cursed film. 20 people were killed during the shooting of this film. They died separately. 9 people were killed in the accident, and how the rest died is still a mystery. Shabbat. And the most terrifying film of today, a horror film about which Warner Brothers produced. So when people went to see it in the theater for a preview, they learned how this film was made and how it would go or not. After a while, people from the Warner Brothers team ran away from the cinema hall. They said they wouldn't be able to see it again. This film was kept for film critics in the cinema hall 5 days before the release. See it, give your review, and tell us how the film was made. He went to see a movie in a critical cinema hall. He ran away from the cinema hall after a while. He said he wouldn't be able to see her again. Now, what kind of horror film is this? So first of all, I will tell you the story of this film. It is from 1969. A person who wrote novels, whose name was William Friedkin. He wrote a book at that time, a horror novel. The Exorcist, after writing this book, it became a hit. People liked it. It was a horror story. So we thought, why not make a film on this novel? They went to big places with it. Warner Brothers bought the rights to this novel. After that, it became a film. But when Warner Brothers bought the rights to the film, big directors were contacted. He heard this story and read the novel. And any big director refused to do this film. Maybe it was because of that. He thought that the image of a horror film was not of E grade. So where will he read in this film? If you don't get a big director, then you won't get a big actor. So no big actor came because who will work with a new director? When from all sides you didn't get a director, then the screenwriter who wrote this novel himself, William Friedkin, said that he would direct this film. And after that, it was decided that he would direct this film. But who will work with a new director now? So the problem started here. So it happened that all the new people would get the opportunity to star in with new people. The decision is taken to start shooting this film. The main character of this film is a girl for whom there are about 1,000 auditions. And one of them is chosen, whose name is Linda Blair. After all these things, the shooting of the film begins. In 1973, the shooting of this film began, where there was a big set, and there was a bedroom of Linda Blair's house where ghosts come and go. So shooting started. Everything was going well on the set. Suddenly, a bird enters the electric service box. A short circuit occurs, and the set is set in fire. The fire was very dangerous. The whole set burns. Almost 9 people died in this fire. Shooting was the first day. Everything would have been destroyed by fire. But surprisingly, there was no fire in that room. The scene of the ghost coming and going in that room was to be filmed. So the room where the ghost was to be shot was completely safe, and the rest was completely safe. This was the first thing that surprised people. When it reached the fire brigade, it was as if there was fire all around. So that room and all the things in it were going to burn, from beds to clothes. But in the room where the ghost scene took place, there was no light. It was saved. After that, people got scared. They started talking. The director thought that the people, the artist and the technician, were scared. So they contacted a father after 6 weeks of this incident. They had to start shooting. And the director, Fredkin, told them to come and clean our set. But he said that if I purify, then your team will be more restless and nervous because they will feel that something is really wrong here, and ghosts are spirits. So maybe they don't even work on that set. He said that the father left without purifying that set. He didn't do it. After his departure, 6 weeks had passed. Somehow, the director convinced the actors and technicians and started shooting. In that, since the ghost in the shoot is jumping and jumping, hanging from the strings, the main artist was hanging from the strings and had to swing it around. And she started swinging herself like this, like the lady was shouting that I should be taken down. The director and the rest of the people thought that it was part of the film, but her condition was deteriorating and she was almost hurt in the bone. Later, when she started abusing people, people thought that the matter was a mess and she was taken down. And then she was taken to the hospital. During the rest of the shooting, she was on the set with the witnesses. This happened to her. After this, the film continued to shoot. But after 9 people died in the accident, each of them died separately. The first one to die was Jack McGoran, who was playing a role in the film, and he had to be shown dying by the devil. But before that, she died in a mysterious way. After that, she had to play the role of the mother of Father Damien. Actress Vasily, before the film was released, she also died. And after that, another person's family member died. A crew member died, and she was absolutely fine. I don't know how it happened. Then a cameraman's child was born. He was absolutely fine. Doctors said that the child was taken home from the hospital and suddenly died. A lead actress who was in it had her grandfather come in the first week of the shooting to see it. And after seeing it, he went back during the shooting and also died. Similarly, after this film, the lead actor of this film, Paul Batson, murdered a journalist, and then he was punished in the murder case. So by doing this at different times, 9 people were in the fire and 11 people in different ways, and the mystery of how they died is unknown. 20 people died in this whole matter. Anyway, somehow this film was completed. It was delayed and stopped, but still, the film was completed. Now, what was the story of the film? The story of the film was filmy. There is an actress, a heroine from Hollywood, and she has a daughter, and she shifts to a new place in a new house for a film. And suddenly, a change comes in her daughter. She screams, shouts, talks to some people, and behaves strangely. She shows it to the doctor. The doctors do all the tests, and they say that it is normal. But her health is constantly deteriorating. She keeps doing weird things. She says that yes, he is my friend, and the friend's neck is upside down. Then one day, she finds the dead body outside her friend's house. Then one day, while talking, the actress's daughter turned her neck 360 degrees. The mother gets scared. After this, a doctor says that maybe a bad spirit has entered her, so you call a priest. Then a priest comes. He understands that she is in the clutches of a bad spirit. After that, he starts cheating her. During this time, all the stories take different turns. And then finally, the priest is successful in getting rid of the girl from the clutches of the ghosts. This is the story of the film. Exorcist, the budget for this film, was $2.5 million. But due to so many accidents and delays, it was delayed. So the budget of $2.5 million was 5 times bigger. The film was made for $12 million. So it took time, and the budget was 5 times bigger. The director and producer were also upset. Anyway, the film was released. This film was to be released in 1973. And this film was to be released on December 25th, Christmas Day. 5 days before that, the producer and director of the film put up a screening on December 21. And they put up a screening, especially for those who can review the film, the critics. And before that, the team of Warner Brothers who were involved in it. The Warner Brothers team, who had come for their exhibit, had to review the film so that they could tell their bosses about it. After a few minutes, the film started, and they were so scared that they ran away without reviewing it. The few people who were sitting on the seat with courage, even after the film was over, didn't move from their place for a few minutes. They didn't say anything. And if someone is asking, they are just staring at them as if they are not in their senses. After this, the premiere of this film was held for journalists and film critics, and they were invited. Now, all the critics have come to the cinema hall to watch the film. But as soon as the film started, 90 of the critics left the cinema hall within the first 15 minutes. They couldn't see the scene in the film. Now that there are critics, the cinema hall is not even fully filled. For some people who wrote the review, that review was also half complete. Means they wrote whatever they wrote in the shadow of fear. At the same time, in 1973, a premiere of this film was held at a place in front of which a church from the 16th century was held. Now the premiere of this film was kept, and the film started. Suddenly, at the same time this film was going on, lightning struck, and the cross hanging from the church broke and fell to the ground. When people saw it, and then it was associated with the film, this film was so sharp that wherever it went, it was like this with the one it was close to. Now, when all this happened in the review, the executive at Warner Brothers, the film critics, the director, and the rest of the people thought, what is this? Why are people so terrified? That accursed film started, and it was on fire. 9 people died. Then the people who connected to the film, their own or their relatives, died in a mysterious way. So all these things are giving the film so much publicity. Here, the producer of the film decided, under a market strategy, that this film would be released in only 24 theaters. This film was released in 24 theaters. People have read a lot about the film until now, and it is such a cursed film. When there were fewer theaters in 24 theaters, they deliberately released it in fewer theaters. So now there are more people watching in less theater. From 4 a.m. on, people go out of the theater and stand. And for tickets, the fight started. One pushed the other, and even the police called anyway. The movie started. After the movie started, strange news started coming from the cinema hall. It was known that many people were suffering heart attacks. It was known that some were pregnant women, some had miscarriages, and some were delivered. People were screaming. People were scared. Some people were running away from the cinema hall, and some were doing weird things. Those who take drugs were so scared that they went out of the cinema hall and were drinking drugs with their hands shaky. The police were standing in front of them, and some people interviewed them. They said that they were not scared of the police who were watching the movie inside the cinema hall, so the police also left them. Now these cases have started to increase so much that the theater owner, the officials there, contacted them and said that we had to send people to the hospital in an emergency. Terror, fear, heart attack, miscarriage, so we need an ambulance. The alarm was that there were mostly 1, 2, and 3 ambulances outside the cinema hall. We don't know when and who will come out of the cinema hall and take them to the hospital. Many people complained that they were watching the movie and had some strange powers, strange voices and strange sounds. Things are being felt like ghosts, spirits, and shadows. Some people watch movies in the cinema hall and they don't know if they fall into terror. Their jaw breaks and some get hurt. Even after watching this film, many people started believing in ghosts, that they started taking them to their fathers and priests. To see them, many people go to church regularly. These stories will begin to come. So for the film that was first refused by many directors, no big actor came. It was released in only 24 theaters. People broke out of the cinema hall. Police had to call for an ambulance. Now, all these things are coming out in the media. The publicity for the film has gone up. After that, it was done in more than 24 theaters. Here also, these films were released outside of America, and as soon as we watched this film, the box office was singing great songs. The film that was made for just $12 million was around $4.5 million, meaning $446 million was earned. Now that all these things have happened after that, no horror film in history before this. Now that there have been so many discussions and stories about this film, it has been nominated for an Oscar. This film received a total of 10 Oscar nominations. Out of those, this film won 2 Oscars. Along with that, it was nominated for the Golden Globe Award, and it won 4 awards, including the Golden Globe Award, The Curse, the death of 20 people, the delay, the increased budget. But he also earned 100 times more than the budget. I am saying I earned 100 times less. I earned 500 times more. He won the Oscar and the Golden Globe Award. Even today, it is said that this film is available on Prime Video. And at that time, if anyone had the courage to watch this film, they could watch it alone in the cinema. Later, after the film was hit, and all these things happened, the director of the film said in an interview that before the film, he didn't believe in ghosts, spirits, and all these things. He didn't believe, even when he wrote the novel. But now he has started to believe in ghosts, spirits, and shadows, which was his line. So this was the story of the most wicked, most evil, and most terrifying film of that time, The Exorcist.